Many years I wrote a lot of promotional music for TV, so you had to learn how to write a song in 30 seconds or less.
The Instrumental Women Project is a nonprofit organization that is established to educate the public about women in jazz as instrumentalists and to create performance opportunities and high visibility venues for women jazz artists. Basically, I like to pose two questions to people when they say, why did you start Instrumental Women? And the first question is, can you name 5 male jazz instrumentalists? They could be any ethnicity, living or deceased. And basically, when I ask people that, if they're over 35, somewhere around that age, they can do it, even if they're not serious jazz fans. Then I'll ask the same person, now can you name 3 female jazz musicians, not including vocalists? And that caveat of not including vocalists usually gets me a, wow, never thought about that. And there are, I would say I haven't counted how many times I've posed that question, but if I've posed that question 1,000 times, it's been 3 people out of the 1,000 who could name women jazz instrumentalists. When we think women and jazz, we think vocalists. Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan. We don't think about saxophonists, trombonists, drummers. And even when we do think of musicians, we tend to think of the Patrice Russians who play the piano, or people who play instruments that are typically associated with women, not those that traditionally have not been associated with women. As a result of the collaboration with our music director a few years ago when we did Blues in the Summertime, Dr. Cheryl Keys, who's an ethnomusicologist at UCLA, she's the professor there who actually created and teaches the Women in Jazz course. And believe it or not, she's one of the most respected people in the country, if not globally, in terms of hip hop and rap, because I believe that's what her dissertation was on. But she invited me, after she was the music director, she invited me to go in on a grant with her through UCLA and she chose the particular focus, and the theme that she chose is Beyond Central Avenue, Contemporary Female Jazz Instrumentalists in Los Angeles. And for people who don't know, Central Avenue is to Los Angeles what Harlem and the Cotton Club and that whole scene is and was to New York. So she wanted to look into the history of women who played in jazz back in the day up to now. So this, the documentary that we're working on is going to feature a limited number of those women, but we've had an opportunity to meet a lot of those women through what we've been doing for 9 years. So it was an ideal collaboration, and she is really not only a talented scholar, but a talented artist as well.
And that, you know, you were talking about Glendale. He was the one that told him, you know, to have all the guys that were working over in Glendale, they had to sign it, put the name and the telephone number and the thing at the police station in Glendale, because they had to have if they were stopped, they had to have a good reason to be in Glendale after 8 o'clock at night.
Why is that?
Prejudice. That was what the guys had to go through. But they started, the place we were working at in Glendale, they started giving the man a bad time, you know, because at first Woody would be playing and we'd be jamming, he'd be playing a song, and he'd walk outside and come back around in another door. He had to stop doing that because the cops would arrest him.
They wanted me to play at the start of this movie. And then I said, so yeah, and then they said, do you have a song that you would sell us for $250? And I said, no, I don't want to sell my things that I worked on for a long time. I'm not going to sell it for $250, but I'll write something. So I just, you know, took a few minutes and wrote something and thought I was only going to make $250. About 6 months later, it was Christmas Eve, and some mail came and it was a big package that says BMI. And I just thought it was an advertisement, and I threw it in the garbage. And then I was depressed that night, and I said, oh, I don't have anything to do. Let me just go back to the garbage and get the BMI out. And I pulled it out, and it was a $4,000 check.
A royalty check?
Yeah.
I get lots of accolades about how great the show is. I remember the first year we did it, I got a call from my bass player. We did it in May of 2000 at the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences in North Hollywood. And I get a call from Leslie Baker in December of that year. Hey, Laquita, we made the list. And I'm like, what list? We made the list of the best live jazz performances for that year in the LA Times. And our first 7 shows, first 7 years, 5 of those years, we were lauded with Best Bets, which is recommended weekend jazz entertainment for jazz. So I feel very, very fortunate that with 100% volunteers up to this point, we've been able to accomplish what it typically takes big money to accomplish. And we've been able to do that because of community support, collaboration, and I think the fact that we've had thematic shows that have been kind of engaging before people get there. For example, Jazz on a String, where we had an 18-piece string orchestra, 5-piece rhythm section. A couple of years ago, the theme was Kickin' Brass. And I have the pleasure of selecting the theme. And I have to say, I don't pat myself on the back for how great the shows are. I pat the music director and artistic director on the back for that, because I get out of their way. My job is to produce, handle the logistics, but what happens on that stage is a result of letting artists have their arena to do what they do best.